Hey guys, welcome back to another video. This week we have a semi-amateur professional freestyle rider, Kevin Casina.
Go, set up, wait.
Alright, let's get some reviews here.
Got big energy here.
Right there, one trick, back foot, two trick, one air, third trick. Oh, that's a long roll to front stroke. That's four trick combo.
He's gonna get that boat
Long roll to...
Give it up for him.
Dang it!
I believe I can fly. I believe I can fly. Oh, I believe I can fly. Hey. Nailed it.
With us this week, it's a good buddy of mine, and we talk about skis a lot, so I'll go to his shop and we talk about some of his builds. But otherwise, we're gonna have we have a lot of content on the way. I don't know whether to make these videos 10 minutes long or an hour long, but we have all this stuff I want to show you, so I figure we just get it out there, watch it as you wish, and we'll see how it goes. We're going to have build videos on different skis. We're going to talk about skis that are already built. We're going to talk about a ski getting finished, talk about a Superjet build. I've got a lot more in the shop, plus other friend skis and whatnot, and we'll talk about all the little differences. Tell me what you'd like to see. I'd like to get some more riding videos once the ice melts. We're in Minnesota here, so it's a little chilly yet. Well, it's supposed to be pretty nice today, but we get together quite a bit, so there should be a lot of good ride content. Another aspect we want to focus on is doing some adventure videos. One of our best experiences of the last year was actually going on an adventure. We went across Lake Pepin, up and down the river, quite a few miles, and it was really choppy, and my buddy Brian and I were like, let's go, and we went on a 550 and an FX1, and it was a rough ride, but you know, it was an adventure. So we'd like to do more of that, maybe take a 21 Superjet somewhere, who knows. We also have an idea. We want to take a trip from Duluth to Grand Marais and document that, maybe up and down the Mississippi. Who knows, maybe that might lead into something more, but we focus on a lot of aspects of stand-up riding, so there'll be some adventures. We can mess around a lot on whatever skis, it doesn't even matter. You could be on a really expensive nice ski or you know, a cheap ski, that's just fine. So they're all fun in their own ways, and I have I think a 95 Superjet I need to restore yet, but there's a lot of opportunity here. Also, I want to give a shout out to Jack Zigler. Check out his video. I'm gonna link it below, but also I'll show a clip here. He's just already an amazing rider, so quick, and the footage he gets from these shots in northern Michigan is just epic. So check out those videos. We'd like to just share the content with everybody. If you have any ideas of stuff you'd like to share, let me know. We'd like to get as many people involved as possible and just have a fun part of the sport. So that's all I got here. Roll some footage.
Oh, one of my big fans in the sport, Justin Sylvain. We need you back, buddy. Back in the game, Justin. We want to see you out there killing it this year.
Hey, I'd like to share some of the sponsor list for the TC Jet Pilot Sortie. It's happening in the end of August. Just want to thank some of the sponsors already. We have a raffle ski. That's going to be some upcoming content we'll talk about. But so far we have Risen Wild, Rad Dudes, Jet Maniac, Easy Ski Hitch Haulers, Ride Minnesota, and the Jet Ski Store. I'm sure we'll get plenty more. If you'd like to sponsor it, that'd be fantastic. If you'd like to support this channel, don't support me, support the sortie. It always goes to a good cause. We end up raising thousands of dollars every year for events and charities in Lake City. We sponsor Girls Running Club, and we just like to share our event with everybody. That event always goes on without a hitch every year. It's an epic event. I'd like for you to all to come if you want to. It's a great tent camping event, and it's just a really relaxed setting. And you just ride jet skis and talk jet skis all weekend. You probably couldn't get any better than that with just the best people. So let me know if you want to sponsor it. I'll get you in contact with the right people. All right, so they got a lot of work done on these. I got the XFS. It's an XS 900RR. Power factor pipe. Just barely fits in there. Got the MSD mounted.
We were able to get our coupler alignment perfect. Kind of a tech tip, like when you first fit your pipe up and you adjust your pads and stuff, you can you try to get this faced up without a coupler on it the best you possibly can. The idea is to get it just like your motor couplers, perfectly even all the way around it, but this one's really tight in here, so that's as close as we can get it. So hopefully Brian doesn't eat up a bunch of couplers this year. But
are you struggling for height here?
Yep, hitting on the top of the hull here. And then the water box height output is too tall because they put this little box, or this little shelf in here for their RRP pipes. Makes a power factor box sit too tall, so the pipe just doesn't want to roll up. So this is kind of the best we could get it, and well, we'll see what happens. Maybe we'll break some stuff.
Hey, you know that piece, like on all their hulls, that's for you can mount a battery box there too. So it's on like on the Edge FS2. It's kind of a legacy thing. Even on my MX1, I got the insert.
That makes sense. So yeah, if you do a B pipe, you can put your battery there, and if you do a dry pipe, you can put your water box there.
Yeah, and the the RP water boxes, they're so small that.
Yeah, they can. Not a big deal. It's just the taller power factor water box.
Is that a power factor? That's tall.
It's actually a Xcreme. So it's the same Xcreme power factor, Xcreme water box, and a power factor water box is the same. It's just an Xcreme. It's just they just tweaked the design of it just a little bit to fit in their hulls a little better. So it's actually got it's like got a little bend in the back is the only difference. But the baffle size on the inside's the same.
Yeah, one thing you notice, it's a pretty good change in height here, which helps water coming back, where RP is like
so small.
It's like an inch.
Yeah. Yeah, so that just makes it easier for water to come back into your ski.
Hey, what's the water routing like in this one, Kevin?
So these ones are run, disregard my nasty temporary cables here, but these ones are run. I got two inlet 1/2-inch hoses run into the head. So we did triple cooling on this motor. So we're running two from the pump to the head, and then these ones will come out on these 900RRs. They don't have water doesn't flow through from the exhaust to the cylinder. So the manifold has its own water system, and the motor has its own water system. So that's why these motors have these 4 extra ports coming out of the side. So we're dumping 2 1/2-inch lines just to cool your cylinders, and then these 4 3/8 lines right here are coming out and going overboard. And then our manifold here, we're just taking a T, and we're going to take 1 1/2-inch line, and we're going to supply the top and the bottom ports on this power factor manifold with a split 1/2-inch line, and those both come out of here. So we have one, we put this one as a 3/8 just to work with the hull, so it'll be a 3/8 overboard. And then the 1/2-inch here is actually going to feed our power factor pipe. And the power factor pipe works by filling an outer chamber with water so that the exhaust gas can stay dry until it hits the water pot or the water box. So this 1/2-inch line will fill up our our power factor pipe, and then this branch off takes the water that was in the power factor pipe and injects it into our stinger, which pushes it through our water box and provides cooling of the exhaust and noise cancellation. And then all the power factors have a lower cooling line. So when the water flows through the power factor, any excess of pressure that doesn't go through into your water box bleeds off on this guy. And that one will drill a hole in the bottom of the hull here, or just below the bond line of the hull here for an outboard pisser on that side. So with the 900RR setup, usually you run about 6 pissers overboard, 1/2 inch and 5 3/8. And then another thing we got on this one, we tapped this exhaust manifold so we can run a water injection system. And what that does, that just goes straight into the exhaust pipe, so we can run water injection if we want to. So if I want to, I can do, rather than a dry pipe, I can introduce water here and make it a wet pipe. So we're gonna play around with some of that stuff this year and see what we can do. Maybe do some water injection systems, or possibly try a different chamber. We'll see. So.
Yeah, so you got the MSD all mounted up too? You
Yep.
put some mounts on there? Some G-Flex or what?
Yep, so we got G-Flex here from Jet Maniac, and then we got the epoxy dye. So you just mix up your 2-part G-Flex thickened epoxy and you add a dye to it, and that's what turns it black. And then for this setup, we're using a rear tank on here. So a rear tanks kind of make a build a little bit more tricky, just because it takes a lot of the conventional stuff out of it. But basically so normally you'd mount your MSD back here, and you could stick a battery back here and your gas tank up here. So with the rear tank, we had to move some stuff around, so we had to find a custom place to put his MSD plate. So I was able to mount it. I just got some four hull inserts in here. I turned the ski on the side and we glued it up and as far out of the way as possible to get his MSD mounted. And then we just throw the battery up front here. This is a temporary battery. And that way we can kind of get everything to flow. It does kind of suck with the rear tank though, because this area is going to get real congested. We're going to have all our cooling lines running here. We're going to have all our electrical right here. So it's going to be pretty busy, but it should work just fine, and it's turning out to look pretty nice. So
yeah, it looks pretty well set up.
Yeah, we just got a temporary setup right now. We just got the MSD installed. We checked for spark, and now I just got to finish up the wiring, add the cooling lines, zip tie everything so it looks all pretty, and then we can actually go ahead and fire this motor up. So this one's actually really close right now, so we're happy about that. And we got our extra 15 horsepower right here, the Sato carbs, or a flame arrestor I should say. I don't even think it's a flame arrestor. I think it's just a mild air filter.
These things used to be unicorns.
Yep. Bam.
Oh, it even fits.
So you're looking at probably just shy of 200 horsepower. 210. Just like that.
Yes, stickers up it.
Yep. Yeah, stickers increase horsepower for sure.
So do you guys have to drill some more holes for water outlets, or is that already there?
This one had four cooling ports to begin with. He was running a stock stroke TP 900 before, and 4 cooling ports was plenty for that. We're kind of just, since we're gonna be running the Xcreme 900RR setup in this ski and in my helium, we're just basically gonna build them as identical as we possibly can, just for the sake of tuning everything. So we're gonna add one 3/8 pisser on this side, and then we're gonna add the one below the bond rail like the Xcreme hulls do, just to keep the water routing nice and simple. But so we do have to drill 2 holes in this hull, which is always an exciting process.
Yeah, it's never fun.
But yeah, it should work out pretty good. Another tip, we found you can find these motors are running BR70S, so they're a pretty hot spark. The 7s are at Fleet Farm. You can get solid tops. Otherwise, the screw tops, just there's a lot of issues that you can run into with screw top spark plugs. Mm-hmm. So if possible, you're gonna just running the solid top spark plug gives you a better connection and less things that can go wrong. So yeah, hit up Fleet Farm. They had a whole pile of solid top spark plugs for marine applications. So
Jet Maniac also has them too. So
Yep, Jet Maniac.
it's a good source.
Very solid source. I spend probably half of my spending money through Jet Maniac, so. But
Cool.
yeah, it should be a good ski. All right, ready?
Yeah, so I see you got your pump in now?
Yeah, we got our pump in. Looks like Jack Zigler, don't really care what his last name is, actually got the pump back sent to us. And we're ready for final motor install. So I got my pump in. I aligned my pump with a tool that everyone should have. Oh, and I can't find it. Here it is. It's a pump alignment tool. So this is a cold fusion pump alignment tool. So basically it's your bolt pattern for your mid shaft. So you take your mid shaft off, you'll bolt this into where your mid shaft goes. Your drive shaft will stick through, and this is your alignment tool. It'll basically sit on your drive shaft, and when it's aligned, the tool will seat in. So you can adjust your shims on your pump. So this is what they call a single piece pump. It only has 2 ears that actually mount to the jet ski. There's no ears up in the front here like a stock Superjet. So on these ones, there's an O-ring on the front of the pump, which unfortunately I didn't get a video of just to describe it, but there's an O-ring on the front of the pump that seats into a ring basically, and that's what holds the front of your pump. So on these pumps, the only adjustment you have are on the 2 rear ears of your pump. So in order to get your tool to line up on your drive shaft, you can adjust your shim heights on the rear of your pump, and that'll adjust your up and down of your drive shaft. And then when you actually press in your drive shaft, moving it side to side will adjust the side to side angle, and that'll get it aligned. And then if you do run into issues where it's not going in because it's canted at an angle like that, then you'll know you'll have to, remove or add shims to get it to level out through the bulkhead there. But that's the basic simple video of kind of how to use the tool and how to align a pump. And then once you get your pipe aligned and your fitting just slides in nice and easy, then we'll go ahead and mount our mid shaft, which we got in here with our MSD. So on the mid shaft, mounting the mid shaft on the seal of the mid shaft, we like to use a Right Stuff or 12, 11, 3 bond or whatever. And this one is a bit excessive, but I'll put a little bead right around the outer lip here. So when it seats against the hull, you have your stock seal, and then you also have your 3 bond that seals it, just to make sure you're not getting excess of water in your hull. This is a hull that Kirk rebuilt my mid shaft for me. Big shout out to Kirk. Thanks for building these mid shafts.
Woo.
And yeah, so once your pump's aligned and installed, 3 bond around your mid shaft, slap your mid shaft on, torque all your bolts, and your mid shaft's ready to go. So now that our pump and our mid shaft's installed, you don't really have to do it at this point. Usually this is something you can kind of do after, but I'm just going to go through real quick on how I like to set my steering up. It's just a super simple way of going about getting your steering, rather than how to level your bars and all that stuff. So basically what I do, I'll start with my steering cable here, and I'll max out my bars one direction. And with that, I'll extend my steering as far as I can get it. So on this, our steering is a little bit past. So I'm basically like a full hole diameter off on past that way, which is fine. And I'll collapse this all the way, turn my nozzle the other way. So with my nozzle turned the opposite way and my bars turned the opposite way, once again we're about a full hole diameter off on our throw. So we know by adjusting this in and out, we basically evened out our steering throughout that process. And kind of the process that's just to basically even out your nozzle and your max throw of your nozzle to your handlebars. So you know when I turn my handlebars one way, it's throwing the same amount of steering as turning it the other way. So from there, I'll just get that set, and then I'll put my little nut down till it's just barely touching our grommet here when my steering's fully turned in that direction, and then I'll extend it out the opposite way to get the full length. And from here, what you can do is measure from your grommet to the bottom of your nut. Oop. We got, we'll call it 3 5/8 of an inch there. So I know that's the max throw on my steering. So I'll take a mark and I'll measure 3 5/8, 1.5 inches plus 5/16. So we got 1 13/16 inches. And I'll just put a little mark on there. You can kind of see my little mark. So now I have a little Sharpie mark right there in between my max throw. So from here, I'll go ahead and I'll put that mark, my little Sharpie mark there, and I'll align it right with my grommet. And I know that's exactly halfway through my max steering throw. So that means my bars are centered, so I don't have to go about trying to level them or square them or anything like that. I know my handlebar setup is centered on where it can be for max throw of the steering nozzle. So from here, I leave my bars and I come back to the back of the ski, and on the back of the ski, now all I have to do is adjust the length of my steering cable here in and out to get my nozzle square to the ski. Because I know my bars are set level right now. So now I'm just gonna basically adjust this until it's square. And typically I'll use an actual square, and then I have like a nice piece of aluminum. But if you don't have a piece of aluminum, I mean something as simple as like a 2x4. So you can check your 2x4 to the back of your hull and just make sure you're somewhat square to your ski. Just make sure that this is a square surface. And obviously when you ride, you'll have to check it out. But this is just a quick, easy way to get you in the ballpark for your first ride. So I'll just hold the 2x4 off the back of the ski and a square to my nozzle itself. And if you kind of come up on top, Kirk, you can kind of see how you can eyeball the two. You can kind of eyeball the two as if how square they are. So I'll pop this off and then I can turn it. So like as your nozzle's turning, you can kind of see how level my nozzle will be to the back of the ski. So I'll just get it pretty close, right about there, something like that. And then I'll check my grommet till it just drops on there. So it'll come out just a little bit. I'll drop it, and then we'll check it again. And like I said, as you ride, you'll kind of adjust it to how you want, but just for first going out, this seems to work pretty good. So right now, it looks like I could go just a touch further out. That's pretty close. So I'll just pop that off, one more spin out, throw it back on, and that looks pretty even. So that's just a really quick, simple way just to get your steering close and just kind of get you on the water. You're not like bending over the ski, trying to get your handlebars straight. And when you go out and ride, just ride in a straight line, and you'll tell if your ski is trying to drift off one way, and you can kind of critique it. But at least I know my max throw on my cable up there is set, so I'm not like extending my cable too far or collapsing it into that rubber grommet. I know that's good. And you can always double check it down here and throw your bars both ways and make sure at the setting here that we do actually have a little bit more stroke and we're not actually extending it all the way. So as you can see, I do have a little more stroke, so I'm not maxing out my cable that way. I can turn my bars this way, and then we're just looking that we don't have our grommet buried into the threads too far. You can see it that way. So this way we still have threads exposed. We're not gonna beat up our grommet there to keep our cable nice and watertight. So that's just a quick, easy way I do. If you got a better way, let us know. But just a quick, easy way to kind of get your steering in the ballpark so you're not tinkering around with it too long. And then the other thing I was gonna show you guys is on our trim systems here. I'll show you the two that I like to run. So I've basically gotten really good at breaking stuff. So just keep parts coming in. Here's a nice one I had from Xcreme that I cracked down the middle. So just haggardly put this one together just so we could get it. So never mind the weld putty on there, but so this is an old style Xcreme trim system with the stainless steel ring and a modified cutout vane OEM 5-degree up nozzle. The benefit of the 5-degree up nozzle is since the nozzle's pitched up, it actually relaxes the angle through here. So when you get trim, you get more trim. If this nozzle was a 0-degree, this angle would be sharper and your trim would max out sooner. So with the 5-degree up, you can get like, I think it's like 26, 28 degrees of trim. Versus with an OEM, you can only get about 15 degrees if I remember correctly. But with your 5-degree up, you get a lot more throw on your trim nozzle. So this is the old Xcreme trim system on an OEM nozzle. It's really haggard, but it was just to get me through. And then this is the P&P Performance Raptor trim system. So the Raptor trim system, it's quite a bit different style. So the actual reduction nozzle itself is quite a bit larger. And the bore of the exit on the reduction nozzle is larger than you can possibly get with an OEM. So this one's at 90 millimeters, and on an OEM one, like 89 is about as big as you can get, and it starts getting really thin. So these have a bigger reduction nozzle, exit diameter, and the bore itself of the reduction nozzle is a larger volume. So it's a lot larger of a pump. So for the wee little 900, we don't need too much extra volume. So usually you got to stuff it with a bigger cone just because it's so much more volume. But what I kind of wanted to show you guys if you're going through trim systems. So this year we're kind of working on what works better. So when you're working with a pump, there's a couple big variables. It'd be the size of your pump, 155, 148, 160, whatever it may be. The size of your reduction nozzle and the shape of your reduction nozzle. The size of the exiting portion of your reduction nozzle, the bore of it, and then the size of your steering nozzle. So certain props will run good in this pump with this reduction nozzle and this steering nozzle. And then if I put my stock Xcreme on there, that same prop won't work for this system because it's just a smaller, tighter bore. And the reduction nozzle itself is smaller. So there's kind of a lot of playing you can do with it. You can, if a prop's too loose for a Raptor trim, you can try to throw an Xcreme stock trim, which will have a smaller nozzle, build a little bit more pressure in your pump, and let that shallower prop build that pressure and produce good thrust. So that's just one more thing you can screw around with your props. You can take one prop and do a lot with it by changing your pump cone, changing your reduction nozzle, and changing your steering nozzle sizes. So just kind of some stuff to play around with. That's kind of why I keep different ones around. But the benefit of these two trim systems is I can change these two parts out without changing my trim cable, because on a P&P trim cable, the throw of the cable on the back side is a little bit shorter because the mount for the cable itself goes on your ear. So this would mount right there, and your trim cable would stop way closer to your pump. I don't know if you can see that or not. So in order to get around it and use both trim cables, you can actually leave your old Xcreme style trim system cable mounted there and then use the P&P's adapter, and you can actually run your old Xcreme trim cable with your P&P with your new PNP trim or however you're doing it, if you just want to go back and forth. So that way I can switch between my Xcreme trim system and my Raptor trim system depending on what I'm trying to do. If I'm trying to build more pressure. Personally, I haven't seen performance-wise when it's like tuned properly, like an Xcreme trim system, I mean, they work phenomenally well. Like these old trim systems, I really haven't noticed much in flip rotation or spin speed versus the PNP system. I mean, the PNP system, the big difference in these two is this one has a collar that bends around. So you trim these ears, and that's how it holds water in for your steering. So when you throw it, it's always getting that good seal, so you're getting good thrust out the back. And then your trim ring, when it's up trimmed, oh, this is cut a bit much, but you know, it gets good throw. And the PNP trim systems, very similar design, but the way the O-ring sits in there, kind of, you don't need the ears and stuff. And it's it's definitely more efficient as far as sealing your water up for your steering and stuff. If you can see, there's like no air gaps in any of the movements whatsoever. And it's also, since you don't have the big ear sticking out here, there's less resistance on your turning against that ear. So in theory, it's a more efficient trim system. Maybe I'm not good enough to notice a difference or what, but I haven't noticed a ton of difference. I really do like the Raptor trim system. It seems to be a lot more durable. Like I said, these OEM nozzles, I've just gotten really good at breaking them. I don't know why. I think it has to do with the single piece pump, just having all the pressure on the ears of just this OEM nozzle. It seems to be a bit too much, and it seems to kind of fail a little bit. So if you were to have a Scat 2-piece pump or a 4-bolt pump rather than a 2-bolt pump, I think your Xcreme, you know, I wouldn't be breaking so many nozzles because I wouldn't be putting so much force on it. But for this single piece pump, it seems to break a lot of these. That's why I'm moving to a 2-piece Scat. So hopefully I can run these without breaking them so much. But we'll see if that works. But that's about all I got for trim systems and stuff. Let me know if you guys have any tech tips or tricks that, you know, would work better than what I got. But that just seems to be the easiest way to set up to go in between trim systems, is just to use the old Xcreme. You know, I just basically leave that in there all the time. And then quick on the old Xcreme, one of the weak points in the old Xcreme system is where they're set up the same, is where the cable meets this fitting on here. Basically, that's something solid versus something flexy, so they seem to break right here. So when I talking to Dusty on the phone, if you take heat shrink wrap for electrical wires and you actually heat shrink right where that fitting meets the cable, it stiffens it at that weakest point and makes your cables last like tremendously longer. So if I were to be running the PNP, it has less pull on the cable itself, but it's still not a bad idea to just put a little bit of that heat shrink right on that hardest part for the cable to bend, and it'll just help your trim cables hopefully last a little bit longer and not break right there. So yeah, let me know what you guys think, and if you got any advice for me, or yeah. Woo!
Alright, I'm started. I'm recording, damn it! Tell me some good shit.
How can I just not break so much stuff? But one of my big fans in the sport, Justin Sylvain, we need you back, buddy. I mean, you're getting fat, you're lazy, you drink too much, you're washed up. Back in the game, Justin. We want to see you out there killing it this year. Woo.
Oh man, he's gonna be pissed. So what about this gas tank holder? What are we saying about that?
Oh yeah, I don't know where the heck you get these things. But if I can get somebody to mold some of these for me, so we can run them in some of Kirk's skis, that'd be wonderful. 2-gallon jazz and 3-gallon jazz carbon tank holders. If you got a line on them, or if you can mold some for us, that'd be wonderful.
Dusty, did you make this?
Yeah, Dusty? Is this Dusty? Is this dusty proof?
Do you turf the tank, or usually like between any kind of hull mount or anything you want some kind of a turf or something?
Actually with those I don't, but kind of a good thing you can do.
Oh, it hasn't, has your tank worn at all?
Here's my tank. Seat's in there nice. So actually I don't, that's just flat bottom to that. That stays put really well, but a good thing to always look out for is like where your tank kind of comes in contact with your pipe. If it's like less than an inch, like if you can barely get a finger through, just put some turf, because when you're doing flips and, well, I just like land upside down and on my side and just get beat up the whole time and barely land any tricks, so my ski gets beat. So anywhere your turf comes near your hull or near your tank, anytime your pipe comes near your hull or your tank, just throw a little hydro turf on there, and then it'll kind of help keep some of your stuff from breaking.
I've always thought about metal tanks. Like I never really want something metal in here, especially with a battery in it.
Yeah,
like just the weight. You know, there's your ski has like a static state, which is sitting in now, and a dynamic state, which is when you're riding it,
flying through the air.
And like stuff is like moving around in there so much. Like,
yeah, and me, it's like I'll like come off a setup wake and just pow, and just get wiped out. My whole motor, everything just gets slammed against the side of the ski. It just breaks everything. But dream is one day I'll start landing some tricks, and we'll break less stuff.
That'd be awesome.
Maybe, or we'll just keep flopping until we can't flop anymore. We'll see.
So what are you gonna do with this exhaust tube?
Oh yeah, so one of the kind of, I don't know if it's gonna work or not, weight savings is, I don't know where we put that. Oh, look at that 10 mil wrench, like gold.
Just fell out of the
like
sky.
gold. Yeah, that's one thing about working in the shop. 10 mil wrenches just fall from the sky. But yeah, so like these silicone hoses, one of the theories we got is to save a little weight on this guy. We're actually going to cut in a piece of carbon fiber pipe and then just use two little silicone connectors to basically eliminate some of this silicone pipe and just try to shave down a little bit of weight where we can for at least somewhat affordable. But we'll see. Hopefully that doesn't break. Ooh, another sweet little add-on here. For your pipe, one of the sweetest modifications you can do is put a little Velcro in. Rather than actually like glue your pad to your ski, it seems like, I don't know, pulling your pipe in and out. If you take your straps off, you can lift your pipe up. I can pull my pucks out, and then it's so much easier for me to take my pipe out of my ski. And then when I put my pipe back in the ski, all I got to do is I can constantly keep wedging these things up and moving them around to keep my pipe, you know, as nice and fit as possible. It's just like because as you can see when you ride, like this was a square puck at first. So as you ride, you'll kind of smash your pucks down and you'll kind of deform them a little bit. So like this one I never had HydroTurf on here until, you know, I put my pipe in one time and my coupler alignment, my pipe alignment was off. So I actually ended up throwing a piece of turf on just because this foam was starting to collapse a little bit. So it's just an easy way to kind of be able to pull those pucks in and out. It's easier to get your pipe in and out. It's easier to adjust your blocks and kind of keep everything going. And then once you got them stuck in to where they fit really nice, you know, between the Velcro and your tank straps, pushing on them, they don't really go anywhere. So it just gives you a lot more options rather than actually gluing that puck to your ski. Or if you don't glue them, they tend to walk around a bit. So it's just kind of a good way to do all that.
I did the same thing with my DVX. It's worked out.
Oh, and I gotta show off a sponsor. Dusty Proof. The man. Helped me out with basically almost everything I know. So everything I'm teaching you is probably what I learned from Dusty, and I just do it a little bit shittier than he does.
He's good. He's good stuff.
But
You're going for.
so for whatever reason, we ran into some interesting problems. I had 2 88 couplers, motor side, brand new. They do not fit on Xcreme crankshafts, which I think are 80R cranks, but. So, Krasky's over here talking shit.
We got Krasky on the phone.
Yeah, Krasky, what do you got to say to the people? Justin's fat.
Hey, easy now, easy.
Hey, I'm just kidding. We love Justin, but we need you to be our hero again. Right now, you're not it. You're washed up. But anyways, so yeah, I don't know, for whatever reason, if anybody can comment on how Krasky, we're making a video here.
Yeah, easy now.
Easy. If anybody can throw in comments or solutions, for whatever reason, I cannot get these 88 couplers to fit on my Xcreme motor. So I don't know what's up with them. I really like these couplers, but they don't fit. So thankfully, we got the old 3-finger we're gonna run. That's right. Should work. That's what I ran last year, but motor's ready to go in. So we're gonna show you the professional, easy on the back way to throw a motor in. What you're gonna do, you're gonna bear hug, you're gonna lift and jerk at the same time, then you're gonna overhead throw into the ski.
Don't ask your friend for help either.
Yeah, if you have a cameraman around, just have him hold the camera, not help you with your motor. It's not like we're throwing a $10,000 motor into a $10,000 hull here. Voila. There she sits.
Easy.
Baby girl's in place. Looks good. Just hook up our cooling lines. Try to focus on drinking as much Busch Light as you can during this process. Really kind of numbs the pain and makes everything so much better. But we got our motor set, so from here, if you want to look in, our next step of the equation is going to be our coupler alignment. I can show a light down there. So our task at hand is going to be to shim our motor until our coupler ears, see if I can get a light on it, perfectly match up here. So what we're looking for, the gap in between the couplers themselves needs to be within 2 to 4 millimeters, and the height in between the two couplers needs to be as even as possible. So right now the motor needs to come up and lean forward. So we'll go through our shimming process here in a little bit and show you how we shim a motor and figure all that stuff out, and let us know what you guys think. If you guys liked what you see in the videos, feel free to comment, let Kirk know what we can add or remove from the context. But until then, Loki says bye.
Yeah, we've actually received a lot of good comments so far. I appreciate you guys.
Yep.